Left of the box. And so this is where my actual legitimate anger to the federal government comes in. Tori, the lefty Canadian radical, a wonderful person on the Hostile Fart Sauna. If you want to go and follow her, she is great. And she points out this post was almost 3 years ago. The Liberals have still not passed a disability benefit, while disabled Canadians haven't seen provincial supports increase for years and have to battle with incredible inflation. A sloth moves forward faster. And so this is Carla Qualtro. Carla. We will move forward with the Canada Disability Benefit. This will be a monthly payment for people with disabilities between the ages of 18 and 64 who have low income or no income. September 1st, 2021. This benefit has been voted on. It's gone through the Senate. It's in law. It still hasn't been implemented. And we have a budget coming up. And if it's not included in that, then there's a very good chance it won't ever happen, because the Liberals would have to remain in power for the next election. I have serious doubts they're going to hang on to power, and the Conservatives will instantly just totally quash it. And if it's not in this one, when will it be? Like what? Wait till the next budget and hope that it's in it and all that sort of stuff. CERB was put together in just a few weeks. This has been years that we've been waiting for this promise. And it still hasn't happened. And there are Canadians who have literally not made it to this point, who would be alive had they implemented this when it first came up. It is just disgusting that the government just sees people with disabilities as disposable, that we're at the bottom of their priorities, that they'll say all this wonderful flowery language about us, but when it comes to actually doing something that will benefit us, they have none of it. So overwhelming support for disability benefit, complicated by slow implementation, survey finds. Canada's Finance Minister, Chrystia Freeland, prepares to deliver the federal government's budget next week. New data suggests overwhelming support for the Canada Disability Benefit from a financial support for people living with disabilities signed into law last June. According to a survey from the Angus Reid Institute, 91% of respondents claim to support the proposed Canada Disability Benefit. I am actually blown away by that, because so often you see people talk really negatively about people who live with disabilities and all the benefits we supposedly get and how we're freeloading and how it must be nice that, we get all this, we get to be looked after and all this money and stuff, that so many people misdirect their anger towards people living with disabilities. But to see that 91% of the respondents claim to support the proposed benefit really kind of blows my mind. I did not expect it to be nearly that high, like not even remotely or close to that high. It's putting a little bit more faith in humanity with that. Because normally that type of thing you would never think. Such support spans the political spectrum. The research suggests with 83% of Conservative voters and 98% of Liberal voters in favor of the benefit, up to 99% of past NDP voters and 98% of Bloc Québécois voters also share support for disability resources being factored into the federal budget, according to the survey. When you have a percentage of the population so high supporting this, it damn well better be in the budget. Just give the people what they want. Like, other people are starting to wake up that maybe people living with disability should have enough money to actually pay for rent and food. It shouldn't be an either or thing. Like, that would be nice. And again, it's part of the having to fill in the gaps of the provincial governments. If the provincial governments were actually supporting people with disabilities the way they should be, then there wouldn't be a need for a federal bill on this. But since the provinces rarely ever raise rates, like in Ontario, they only recently got raised after years of not being raised, even though inflation was going out of control and there was a pandemic to deal with, and people living with disabilities had a lot more financial burdens during that. Rates weren't raised then. It's the provinces that are drastically underfunding disability payments. So yes, the federal government has to come in and do its job. In an interview with CTV News last September, Minister of Diversity, Inclusion, and Persons with Disability, Kamala, we'll just go with Kamala, called the benefit a generational national program. I think it's really important that we find the balance between, of course, the expediency and the care of that it needs to make sure that we get it right with engagement in with the community. So that's exactly what I'm committed to in this new role. Now, key things to remember here. People who are on Ontario Works or EI, that sort of thing, their rates also haven't gone up. A lot of those people should be on disability, but because of all the barriers faced to getting on there, they're denied that opportunity. So Ontario Works and EI type things also need to be going up drastically, just enough so that people can get by and survive while they're looking for that new job. Because if you take the stress of not losing your home off the table, it's much easier to look for a new job. And if they're capable of getting a job. Also, very important note here, between the ages of 18 and 64, the reason why this is important is when you get on to 65, you switch over to the Canada Pension Plan, CPP. The reason why this is important to note is all of your benefits are taken away. So while you technically get a little bit more on it, you don't get the same drug plans or help with medical equipment or any of that. All of your benefits go away and you're just expected to use what you have on CPP to pay for everything. So at a time in your life when you're more likely to need more medication, to need more medical assistance, you're now being denied all the benefits that were helping you. So quite often in reality, in practical reality, you get paid far less on CPP than you do on disabilities. And that's important to know that even with this program that the Liberals are propping up there, like this is such a great thing, there's a lot of people that are being left out and who will still suffer. So Kamala's comments emerge against a backdrop of criticism from Canadians over the government's slow pace of disability resource implementation. According to Angus Reid, only 1 in 25% of respondents report feeling confident in the federal government's will to follow through, while 45% doubt it will, and 13% say they are certain the benefit will never be distributed. I'm in the 45, I think. I'm doubtful. That's why when it first got announced and put into law and people were celebrating it, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to wait until it's in practice. Until it's actually implemented, I'm not going to celebrate it. The benefit, titled Bill C-22, passed Parliament on June 20th, 2023. The federal government estimated that it would take more than a year to establish. Again, CERB, just a few weeks. The data showed that Canadians across the political spectrum believe the current resources available for those living with disabilities are largely inadequate, with 58% of the Conservative voters and 66% of past Liberal voters and 77% of NDP voters describing disability support as insufficient. Do you know what should be on this? Are people living with disabilities? Not by party, just poll the people living with disabilities to see how adequate it is. As the federal government's disability benefit has been discussed, the provinces have mulled how they might treat the new benefit and whether it would claw back their own supports for people living with disabilities, reads an Angus Reid report highlighting the survey findings. Advocates worry this would counteract the federal benefits goals of lifting Canadians living with disabilities out of poverty. It is something that I'm worried about. You might qualify for provincial disability, but not for federal disability, and then you're going to lose out on some things, or it's just, like I said, until it's implemented and we see how it works, I'm not going to praise it.